Hello, class, and welcome back. Today, the topic of our class is Jesus raised from the dead. We're going to talk about the miracle of resurrection and what happened to Jesus prior to it. In this lesson, we will explain the meaning of resurrection and find out what Passion Week is. After Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, his sister Mary invited Jesus for dinner. Mary wanted to thank Jesus for raising her brother from the dead. She took a bit of pure nard. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. A large crowd of Jews found out that Jesus was there at her house and came to see him, and Lazarus as well, who newly raised from the dead. Many of the Jews were going over to Jesus. Seeing many miracles, they started believing that Jesus really could have been the Son of God. The chief priests were afraid that many Jews will follow Jesus, so they came up with a plan to kill him. The Passion Week of Passions of Christ starts on Palm Sunday, on the day when he entered Jerusalem on the donkey. It was the triumphal donkey ride that started the period of trials and suffering that Jesus experienced prior to his death. When Jesus entered the city of Jerusalem, the crowd of the Jews met him right there at the gate. They all wanted to see him. People laid down their clothes and the palm tree branches, trying to make a path for Christ. On Wednesday, the Jews started celebrating the festival of Passover. What is Passover and why was it important? Now, the festival of Passover was a festival of freedom. Pesach from Hebrew means to pass over. The Jews celebrated the Passover to remember the Exodus, the way of Israelites from Egypt to the Promised Land. The Israelites baked unleavened, no yeast bread on their way from Egypt to the Promised Land, and called the bread matzah. It was a flat bread that did not rise due to the shortage of time. Since then, years later, during the Passover week, the Jewish baked no yeast bread to remember how God helped Israelites escape from slavery in Egypt. The Jews usually started the celebration with a family dinner, eating matzah bread. Now let's return to Jesus. He thought the beginning of the Passover was a great chance to gather his 12 apostles at the same table. Now you all know this painting of the Last Supper. Here Christ is surrounded by his apostles, the 12 that loved him and trusted him. He, they believed that Jesus was the Son of God. Sitting at the table with students, Jesus used matzah, the unleavened bread, to symbolize himself. This is my body that is given to you. Why would Jesus use matzah bread to explain about his mission? Jesus used the bread to explain to his apostles that God sent him to earth to sacrifice his body and free all the people from their sins. So he used bread because it was plain and it was pure and it had no yeast. In the Old Testament, leaven stands for sin. In the New, stands for false teachings. Shortly after the Last Supper, Jesus was betrayed by Judas. and got arrested. Jesus Christ died on the cross on Friday. His dead body was taken off the cross and buried in the cave. On Sunday morning, Jesus was not found in his tomb. He is risen.